This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Place to Be Nation, welcome to the inaugural episode of a brand new show here on Place to Be Nation Pop. This is Looking Forward, Looking Back. I am your host, Andy Atherton, and thank you for joining me on this inaugural voyage. So we're going to talk about little movies tonight, have a little fun, and I've brought on board three of the heavy hitters from Place to Be Nation right out of the gate. So let's not waste any time. Let's get them introduced. So first off, she is a very popular voice here on Pop, host of Talkin' Pop, Geek and Sassy, and many other shows, Miss Jennifer Smith. Jenny, thanks for joining me.
Well, you're welcome. Thank you for inviting me, and I didn't realize I was a heavy hitter, but I'll take it.
Hey, you know what? We hear that lovely Southern drawl on like every other show, it seems like these days.
Hey, now. Are you calling me the Village Bicycle? How dare you?
No, you're the Southern Belle.
Oh, true.
Next up, we got the host of the Glenn Butler Podcast Spectacular, one half of the Bros of Discussion, Mr. Glenn Butler. Glenn, thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much for having me. I am the Northern Belle of the show.
That you are. Okay, and last but certainly not least, he is one half of the top guys here over at Place to Be Nation, without whom I wouldn't be here. So you can either give him all the credit or all the blame, depending on how the show goes. He is the host of The Mothership, along with JT Zero, Mr. Scott Criscuolo. Scott, thank you for joining.
With my age, does that make me the Liberty Bell because of my age? Notice I diffused that, and hopefully, Andy, good to thank you for inviting me. And if this show goes as well as your trivia performance did, we'll be done by 5 after 9. This is tremendous.
You know, I knew I was not going to do well, but I didn't think I was going to have a big goose egg. When I listened to the show later, I would have gotten like 2 or 3 of everybody's questions right. So I got a bad draw.
Oh God. Anyway, it's great that you finally are off on your maiden voyage. And since it is pouring here in the Northeast, we are in water, so that makes sense. Everyone is getting the beginning of the imbibing, so God only knows what movies we'll be talking about in an hour. But it's a pleasure to be here. Glad to help you along.
Thank you. So let me talk about what the show's goal, show's aim is here. So we're going to talk different topics. Sometimes we may do sports, we may do TV, we may do pop culture. It's all about, things that we're looking forward to, things we're looking back. Pretty self-explanatory. So today we're going to talk about movies with the fall/holiday movie season upon us, just about. We're going to look forward to the movies coming out starting in October all the way to the end of the year. And then in B Block, we're going to go look back at what was a pretty good summer, in my opinion. A lot of plot twists this year, I thought. But, overall, I enjoyed many movies this year, and we'll take a look back at some of our favorites and some things that we have a lot to say about. But that'll be later. So let's start off with first movies coming out of the gate. We got Venom coming out on October 5th. So you guys, we got big comic fans here, guys?
Jenny's never read a comic in her life.
I'm a comic fan, but I've never read any Venom. I don't have any attachment to this movie, so I don't hate it as much as others might, based on the trailer. And I'm sorry, but Tom Hardy has not made a movie that I don't like yet. So I think I'm a tad bit more optimistic than maybe some of my PTBN comics brethren are.
Take control of your Venom. Take control. That comes out like Bane. That would be great. Yeah, I'm like you. I consider myself a surface level geek. Like, I don't read comics really, but I, really into the movies and all that. And, they couldn't be worse than the Venom that was in Spider-Man 3. I could tell you that much.
That's true.
Scott, what about you? You a Venom fan?
I will say this. at least from a cinematic viewpoint, our only taste of Venom was a guy whose character was called Dumbass for 7 years. So having said that, things can only go up. I agree with Jenny about Tom Hardy. However, when you go all the way back to, and Glennie can attest to this, all the way back to Star Trek Nemesis, when he was a little pup, he's usually mostly hit, rarely miss. But again, I think people are very, and this is going to go into my rant later in the show about Solo. People are very set in their ways about something, particularly like a movie brand or something like that. When you're a pop culture geek, you're kind of locked into what you know and what you're used to. And because this is not really canon per se, it's like a Marvel borrowing. People are very skeptical because it's not full blown Marvel. We're not talking, in Infinity War or Iron Man or Cap level. So people admittedly are going in a little tentative, but at the same time, again, if the only thing we remember of Venom on a big screen is Spider-Man 3, things can only get better. I thought the trailers were good. Trailers are always good. So I think people are cautiously optimistic, but the jury will be out, and it is the first big movie of the season. So are we going to get off on a good note? We'll see. I mean, with an Oscar possibility coming out also on Friday, which we'll talk about, expectations are probably high for it, but again, history gives it a chance to succeed, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's the beginning of the Spidey-less Spideyverse over at Sony. It is. It's actually interesting because originally it was rated R. I don't know if you noticed that, and they lowered it to PG-13 because I think they want to maybe do some work with Marvel at some time under the Disney banner. So my kids, my daughter is 16. She's psyched for this movie. Actually, she's really into all the dorky comic stuff, and my son's 11. And he was like, "You want to go see it?" He's like, "I don't know, it looks a little scary." I'm like, yeah. "Oh, come on, grow a pair. Come on, you're 11." But yeah, we're looking forward to seeing it. Glenn, any thoughts on Venom?
Is this another one of those movies that Sony's making because they're contractually obligated to make a movie? Because the trailers just look so uninspired. It seems like everyone is going through the motions,
Yeah, they're kind of going for a Deadpool vibe, I think, a little bit here, because they want it to be anti-hero and snarky and all that stuff.
I mean, that's cool and all, and you can do that in a way that's interesting. But if you're going to ape Deadpool, then you have to actually go for the R rating.
Yes, agree.
Yeah, I also think, Glenn, it's similar to, as I mentioned, Spider-Man. It's similar to when. I forgot who had the license when the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man came out. Spider-Man's
no, that was
movies
came out. That was Sony. Also,
those were completely just so they could keep the rights.
That's exactly, and you may be right on this. You may be right on this. I didn't think of it that way, but you might be right. They did the same thing. They rushed 2 movies because they needed to make a quick buck, and in the end, they made 2. I wouldn't say horrible. I'd say mediocre. Unfortunately, in the superhero world now, mediocre's unacceptable. But that I could see that thinking that hey, let's jump on anything with the word Marvel in it, even if it's not really. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
not a bad theory.
You still get to put the logo on it, so
Yeah. So as Scott alluded to, the other big movie coming out this weekend is definitely with Oscar buzz. I think the director is going to be the belle of the ball, so to speak, at the Oscars in was it February, I believe. So A Star is Born. This will be the 3rd iteration of the movie.
4th.
4th? Oh, sorry. Correct me. Thank you, Glenn. I actually have not seen any of the others, but I got dragged to see Mamma Mia 2, which I'll talk about later, and this was the first trailer I saw, and the girlfriend just grabbed the arm, was like, "We're going to see that." I'm like, yeah, "Okay, no, you're going to go see Bumblebee then." So I'm actually though looking forward to it. It looks like Lady Gaga, is going to bring the goods, and Bradley Cooper. I mean, we'll see how he does first out of the gate. Jenny, Star is Born. What do you think?
Well, I watched the extended trailer on YouTube today, and I had not seen it before. I'd just seen like the TV spots and stuff. So like I would recommend people watch that trailer because you know how sometimes when you watch a movie and the performances feel so intimate that it's hard to watch? That's how I felt watching that trailer. Like the chemistry between Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga is insane in just the little pieces that we see in this trailer. I think it's going to be tremendous. I think the music's going to be amazing. The performances, the direction. I think she's going to be a fucking star. I mean, even beyond what she already is. She looks highly impressive. And I mean, I've seen the Judy Garland version of this and loved it. And I don't know, this one might end up being better. Is that blasphemy?
No, it's not. I mean, a lot of times it's like any kind there's a remake or a redo or reimagining, you have to judge it against itself. I mean, when Ghostbusters, I know it's a totally different genre, but when Ghostbusters came out, I made my daughter watch the original night before, and then we went to see the next one, and I'm like, which one do you like better? She's like, the new one. I'm like, well, because she has no frame of reference. Back in, 84, 85, whenever Ghostbusters came out, we thought that was the shit. Mm-hmm. And nowadays, these kids aren't exposed to that. So the same thing, it's been long enough. The last one was, I believe, in the late 70s with Streisand. Mm-hmm. So I think it's been far enough removed that, you can have a blank slate going into this and not worry about, the original is always the best. Well, come on, just judge a movie on its own merits. Glenn, Star is Born, you going to go see it?
Well, honestly, probably not. But I'm sure Lady Gaga is great. I mean, I've seen all the critics who've had reviews of it come out already have been raving about her, and I'm just happy for her because I've loved Lady Gaga for a long time. Her career trajectory is fascinating to me. Mm-hmm. How she kind of burst onto the scene as the new weird pop star, wearing the meat suit and the model of the solar system and all that, and then gradually over the years kind of ratcheted into normalcy. Mm-hmm. There was a huge step when she did her duet album with Tony Bennett, but still, the way she's presented in this movie is, totally normal, totally meek, mm-hmm. and I'm kind of wondering where her whole presentation goes after that. She has a new studio album coming out soon, so maybe she'll get back into the kind of Gaga vibe. I noticed, looking this up, the previous Star is Borns were 37, 54, and 76. So they were doing pretty well, doing one about every 20 years, and then they missed the 90s. So I started thinking, who would have been in the mid-90s Star is Born? And I don't know who the guy would have been, but I'm pretty sure the woman would have been Jewel. What do you all think?
Mariah Carey.
Yeah, it would have been Mariah
that
Carey.
Works too, yeah.
Nicole Kidman, maybe.
Who would? Wow, that's
only if Tom Cruise got to be the Chris Christopherson, even if he had a blue beard on it.
I would watch it. Beard. I'm a Tom Cruise mark.
So am I, actually. He just makes fun movies. Actually, with the exception of that piece of shit Mummy, he makes fun movies. Scott, Star is Born. Any thoughts?
Well, the only one that I ever seen, and I kind of got stuck seeing it at home when I was a kid because my mom loves Barbra Streisand and I absolutely fucking loathe her with every fiber of my being. So I'm all on the Lady Gaga bandwagon because I want her to be better than that bitch. So I'm all in on Lady Gaga. I've never seen the Judy Garland one. My mom says the Judy Garland one is the best. I'd like to think that, again, and you know what? I think Bradley Cooper will be pretty good. Let's talk about him for a minute. We seem to keep talking about her. I've seen it. I think I like almost everything I've seen him in. Mm-hmm. And I'm not even totally talking about the 3 Hangovers. I loved him in American Hustle.
Yeah.
I loved him in
Wedding
was he in a
Crashers?
yes, he was good in that. Was he in a football movie? No. What am I thinking of?
Yeah, that was one of the movies where he fell in love with J-Law over and over again.
Yes, that's right. He had the Eagles jersey on. That's right.
Yeah, where they dance at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of the name of it. I like
Silver Linings Playbook is amazing.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's it, Jenny.
I knew we could count on her. And again, I don't think I've ever liked anything ever that had Barbra Streisand in it. So I'm praying for Lady Gaga to hit it out of the park. So I don't know if I'll see it. Maybe. I don't know. But I have high expectations for her because she seems to be one of those ones that takes things very seriously when most recording artists don't, honey. So I think that I think you're going to see much more out of this movie than expected. And so I've got high hopes for it. Again, I don't know if I'll see it, but not really my cup of tea per se. But I may see it just for her because I want her to just totally destroy the Barbra Streisand version. But from what my mom has said, because I asked my mom about it over the weekend, and she said the Judy Garland one is the best. So she's seen all three of them.
Another aspect to consider is Dave Chappelle in this, who I adore, and seeing him in a serious role is really something that intrigues me, and just add it to the list of reasons to watch the movie.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a good counter programming. Venom and Star is Born. You got two very different crowds going to the cinema this weekend. So we're going to move on to the next one, which is Bad Times at the El Royale. Now, this has one of those Tarantino-esque vibes, I want to say. It's like one of those ensemble pieces set in an interesting setting, and there's going to be some kind of friggin' twist at some time. But, I mean, I think the cast is outstanding for this. You look Jeff Bridges, Nick Offerman, Dakota Johnson, John Hamm, Chris Hemsworth. I mean, it's set at a fictionalized version of the Calneva Resort. I don't know if you ever heard of that. It's where the Rat Pack like to hang out a lot. So, yeah, it's going to be very interesting, or it could be really bad. It could go either way. Glenn, did you check out the trailer for this one? Did you know anything about it?
It seems pretty fun. It's one of those ensemble cast star-studded things that we have every few years, and it's just, I don't think it's aspiring to be more than what it is. It's just, hey, here are all these stars, and they're playing these wacky characters. Seems fun.
Yeah, Scott.
I'm a huge ensemble. The minute I saw this trailer, because I work for CBS, and we're airing a boatload of the commercials, and the cable division is, and I've watched all of them, and I'm thoroughly sucked in. I really am. I loved Pulp Fiction, probably one of my 10 favorite movies of all time. I even loved, 2 Days in the Valley, and I know everybody hated that, but I always thought that was kind of cool too. Had that same vibe. Anything like that, Reservoir Dogs, anything where you can have where a director has or even a producer or whatever has the balls to have that much talent at the same time. I applaud, because it's not easy. I mean, you can go back to Caddyshack for awesome ensemble movies, and that work. Some don't, some do. I'm all in on this one. I feel that it will. You've got a combination of top-heavy stars and kind of second-tier stars that won't outshine the top-tier stars. So I kind of like the vibe. I hope that the twist is sensible. And you always get nervous about movies like this where they don't. But I'm all in for it, because I think anything that's got an ensemble cast that kind of goes outside of all of their comfort zones could be pretty good. So I'm feeling good about this one.
Yeah, I like. I'm big into ensemble cast too, especially when they're like one contained environment, like Hateful Eight. Like, I thought that was a really good movie. It didn't get as much buzz and acclaim as some of Tarantino's other ones. I mean, I'm really looking forward to his next one about the Sharon Tate murders, Charles Manson
Yes.
thing that's going on. They actually just recast because Burt Reynolds was supposed to be in it. He was supposed to be like the eccentric, I guess, landowner where Charles Manson, rents the house or whatever, and he got replaced with Bruce Dern. So one crazy eccentric for another crazy eccentric. Jenny, what do you think? You going to go see this one?
My opportunities to watch this one in the theater is probably going to be low, but when Jeff Bridges says "shit happens, get the whiskey," that spoke to my soul, and I can't.
I thought of you actually when you said
that. It looks super interesting and weird, which is also up my alley. And like you guys said, the ensemble is kind of hard to beat. I'm a huge John Hamm fan, and Chris Hemsworth. So I'm like, maybe one day I could like sneak off to the theater and watch this one, hopefully. Otherwise, I'll have to wait till it comes out on rental.
Yeah, it's going to be this one. It looks like one of those movies that once it finally makes it to cable, like you flip channels, it's going to suck you in.
Yes.
Like you just have those say, all right, this is on like Goodfellas or whatever. It's like, oh crap, I'm going to be here for an hour. All right, so what also coming out the same weekend is First Man. That's the Neil Armstrong biopic with Ryan Gosling reteaming with Damien Chazelle, the director of La La Land. This smells like Oscar bait all over. So it looks interesting. I mean, movies that are historical and you kind of know the outcome, kind of takes away from the drama a little bit. But, I mean, it looks interesting. Like, I'll probably go see it. So, Scott, First Man, what do you think?
I love historical movies. I'm not a giant Ryan Gosling fan, but I do love movies like this, period pieces, particularly 60s and 70s. And even 80s. That's kind of my wheelhouse. So I'll probably go see it. Maybe it's like a modern day version of The Right Stuff, which was a great space movie in the 80s. I don't know if it's the same tone, but it may. But I'll probably hop on it because I love those kind of historical pieces. I'm not the biggest Ryan Gosling fan, but I'll hold my breath. But I'll probably see it.
Jenny, what's your Ryan Gosling feelings?
Oh, honey, Ryan Gosling. I got all kinds of feelings about him.
Well, you got Gosling and Chris Hemsworth coming out the same weekend. What is that? A real Sophie's choice for you there?
Something
and
like
John
that.
Hamm.
And
John Hamm. Good Lord. Oh, I'm a super huge NASA mark. I wanted to be an astronaut when I was a kid. Apollo 13 is one of my top 10 movies of all time. So this is another one that's like, why does this have to be in October? Because like everything happens in October, and I don't know that I have a night to go and see this, but I want to. Like, it looks so good. Even the I don't want to say, like, of course it was very stressful and dramatic and tense, and I like my Gosling a little bit more on the lighter side, but he can obviously pull off the drama. I think it looks awesome. I'm glad they made this movie. I think that Neil Armstrong is like that name that, of course, everybody knows, but like, how much do you actually know, especially about his family life and his training, stuff like that? Like, I've never seen anything about that. So I like it. I want to see it.
Glenn, you into period pieces?
Yes.
I'm into space period pieces. I think it's always nice to get, every now and then we have these nostalgia movies about a time when we invested more in science. So that's always nice. I have a little trouble, even after seeing the trailers and some other information on this movie, to tell what exactly the tone of it is going to be. I don't think it's going to be sort of triumphal in the way The Right Stuff was. So I think it would be interesting to see just how exactly that shakes out. Like I read somewhere that it'll have a predominantly electronic score, which seems weird for a 60s period piece. So we'll see how that works. I think it's an interesting movie for Damien Chazelle to do after La La Land. It's kind of a left turn. And I just can't wait for the scene where Gosling has to go talk to Taraji P. Henson to make sure it's safe to go to space.
I had that movie in my head the whole time we've been talking about it. I thought that was actually a good movie.
That was a fantastic movie.
It was really good.
That's one of those, like, you know, you don't, again, like Jenny was saying, we don't know about the story behind all that. Like, I never even knew about that. So, yeah, let's hope. I mean, the trailer kind of, you know, is painting him as this, like, family man that, like, is sacrificing everything to go to the moon. So, I don't, you know, I mean, I think they're going to it's going to be pulled off. But, you know, I'm very hopeful and looking forward to it. All right, the next movie on our list, I'm going to hand over to our two horror experts one moment, because Halloween is coming out on October 19th. Now, I personally am not a big horror fan. I'll do the vampires once in a while. Not, you know, whatever that one was with the sparkly ones, Twilight. But I will, zombies, I'm in all day, and they scare the crap out of me when they're track stars, like in the Dawn of the Dead remake. But I watched the trailer for this, and it actually looks pretty damn good. Mm-hmm. So we'll start with Glenn, because I figure Jenny and Scott are going to have a lot to say about this movie. So, Glenn, any thoughts on this Halloween sequel, prequel, retcon, whatever they're going to do on this one?
Well, I am significantly not a horror person.
I got you.
My main exposure to this has been watching the trailer to get ready for this, and I've seen people on some film scoreboards that I frequent talking about John Carpenter doing the music for this one with his son. They had a preview of the new version of the main theme that went up on YouTube a couple of weeks ago, and that was an interesting variation from the original, but still really true to it. So that sounded very interesting. Otherwise, you should talk to the people who know more about horror.
Yeah. So, Jenny, sorry, I spaced on your other podcast earlier. What is it? It's called
Freak Out Drive-In.
Freak Out Drive-In. So, yeah, this is right up your alley. I'm sure that you're, you know, got a babysitter, clear the calendar, whatever you need to do. I'm going to see this sucker opening weekend. Correct?
Hell yeah. I already planned a pop blast.
Ooh,
so
awesome.
Anyway, yeah, so Jamie Lee Curtis is the center of this. Like, you can Michael Myers it all day, but she looks badass in this trailer. I love how she just looks fucking old. You know what I'm saying? Like, she is an old female with gray hair kicking ass yet again. And I love it. Even though they've retconned like all the sequels and whatever, that's fine. Like, do whatever you want to do. I think it's going to be a huge hit. I think that the little twist of him being locked up this whole time, and then he escapes. I love it. It's shades of the original, of course. So yeah, like I'm all in on this movie. Please just let it come out tomorrow. I would like to see it, please.
Scott, yeah, this Thursday night at midnight showing for you?
You know, I wasn't sure, but I may have to hijack Jenny's pod blast, because I think I may go on a Thursday night. If it's out on a Thursday night, I don't know if it's that kind of movie where it will be out on a Thursday night, but
I'm sure it will be.
I'm sure
everything does Thursday showings.
Yeah, that's true. That's
true.
Even
Venom's got Thursday showings.
As Jenny was talking, the commercial, we have I have the National League wildcard game on mute, and the commercial for it just popped up, and as Jenny was saying that Jamie Lee Curtis is a grizzled badass, she's being a grizzled badass in the commercial, in the trailer. So I'm pumped. Perplexed a little, because I originally, when this was first discussed, or when I first heard about it a couple years ago, I thought that this was supposed to replace Halloween 3, and that it was going to be the movie was going to open with the ambulance pulling away from the hospital at the end of Halloween 2, because I've never, and I'm curious Jenny's opinion, I've never had an issue with the original Halloween 2. The original Halloween 2 was fantastic.
I liked it.
It's awesome. I don't think there was ever a need to. So I don't know what John Carpenter's thinking, needing to do another 2. Maybe because Rob Zombie's 2 sucked ass. I don't know, but I'm pumped for it. The mask looks good, because for years and years, if you watch the documentary 25 Years of Horror that came out, 25 Years of Terror that came out in 2003, first off, horror franchises have always had production issues, movie company issues. I mean, I have the very rare now, because it's out of print, Halloween Blu-ray box set that was only out for a year because New Line or Dimension and whoever, Paramount or Compass or whatever, could, be in the same room for 10 seconds. There's always some type of strife involving horror franchises. So there was always issues with the mask, and, it went from looking like William Shatner, which is what the original mask was, to looking generic, and then all this other stuff. But this one, I really feel like this is what John Carpenter would have wanted if he was doing Halloween 2. Because if I just watched, I watched recently with Jenny on her debut voyage of her awesome show, and I watched it again the other night with a group of people who had never seen it before, which I love doing. And I watched it again, and there was on the second disc of the Blu-ray, there was a 90-minute documentary on the making of. So if someone can get the rare box set, I highly recommend it, because it's loaded with gems. And John Carpenter said, I wrote something for Halloween 2. I don't know if they didn't really use all of it. I didn't know what to do. Deborah Hill and John had no idea what to do once Michael got up from the lawn and walked away at the end of the first one. So if this is what his idea would have been had his Halloween 2 came out in 1981, so be it. I'm open to it. And I agree with Jenny. I'll watch 1,000 Halloween sequels. I don't care if they make no sense or whatever. Who cares? It's Michael Myers. Kicks ass and takes names. Doesn't matter to me if it makes no sense. I don't really care. Most horror. Look at Friday the 13th. I mean, for God's sakes, Jason died 47 times, and some moron seemed to always bring him back to life. So it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. As long
He
as
even
I'm
went to space.
He even went to space, exactly. And
I've actually seen most of that one.
And he got Wolverine adamantium steel for a face. So I mean, it's so fucking dumb. But in any event, I'm thoroughly pumped. Because it is Carpenter, and I trust him implicitly because I've never hated a John Carpenter movie ever. So I'm thrilled, absolutely thrilled. I'm all in like Jenny on this one. I think it's going to be fantastic, and hopefully motivates him to maybe we can get a nice linear Michael Myers story. I don't know if it's going to end here. That hasn't been talked about, so I'm not sure. But I'm willing to see if it's going to be this good. I'm willing for more. Bring it on.
If this does well, we'll probably see other franchises probably get rebooted. Speaking of other franchises, so I didn't even know this was coming out until I did a little more further prep for the show. So apparently there's another Child's Play coming out on the 28th. Couldn't even find a trailer online. It's what's it called? Revenge of Chucky. Have you guys heard anything about this movie?
No, not really.
What are your feelings on the franchise as a whole?
I like it. Like, I think dolls are super fucking creepy. So, yeah. And oh man, I cannot remember the last time I watched a Chucky movie, but it's just like one of those things like you grew up knowing about, and like it's just always been kind of there. And I mean, whether I'll see it or not, I'm not sure, but I mean, it's kind of like all of these sort of like 80s revivals. Like, yeah, just keep making them. I mean, it's just fucking fun. I will watch a doll kill people. I mean, I will. I mean, I don't know what that says about me, but I will.
Scott, any thoughts on this one?
I knew they had thought about it like 3 years ago.
It's probably been sitting on the shelf since then. They're finally like, fuck it, let's release this damn thing.
I mean, the last one. I need to brush up. I had forgotten we were going to get into this, but what was the one that came out? There's one that came out.
It was Bride of Chucky, Seed of Chucky.
No, those are way after that. Let me find the, let's see, franchise. Here we go. There was, all right, Curse of Chucky came out in 2013. Now, Curse of Chucky, was the first direct-to-video, and that was in 2013. That movie was the first Chucky to have the new way of thinking of horror, like the new horror look. as compared to like the 80s, 90s horror look pre like Blair Witch kind of thing or pre Scream. And Curse of Chucky had that look, and it made Chucky more menacing. It actually brought like the original Child's Play Chucky back, and I liked it a lot. Then there was Curse of Chucky. Cult of Chucky, which came out in 2017. So that only came out last year. And now the new one is coming out. So I don't know what to expect. I mean, that one I may wait. Probably going to wait till, streaming Netflix and if I like it, maybe I'll buy the Blu-ray. But I may wait on that one. I agree with Jenny. I love Killer Dolls too. But that one I may hold off on.
Yeah, there was a video of, I don't know, it was like a prank show or something, but it was like, I remember seeing it online or something. It was like, I think it took place in Mexico, where it was like a bus stop, and it was like a Chucky poster, and people are saying all of a sudden somebody, like a little person or something, jumps out dressed like Chucky with a fake knife and starts chasing them down the street. I mean, that would be friggin' terrifying.
Good on you for saying little person.
Well, it's not the 80s anymore, so.
Yeah.
You don't know me and that. When I was backstage for being a ring announcer, there was a 6-man tag between the the Dinks or whatever and the King's Court.
Oh, grief.
Yeah, while I was waiting to get called out to the ring, I was like, I've never been around this many time in my life. And dressed like clowns and kings.
Infested. So anyway, there was an upcoming movie. I think it changed because originally they were going to reboot. They were going to reboot the whole story, and actually Aubrey Plaza was going to play the mom. Just kind of odd. I think of her as what's her name on in Parks and Rec. I don't think of her as like in that kind of role, but who knows? Anyway, that was supposed to be the case. I don't know if that's what it is now, but anyway.
Well, we'll see where that ends up. Okay, so coming out November 2nd, we got a couple of movies. We got The Nutcracker and the Four Realms. Now, is this going to be, a big hit, or is this going to be a wrinkle in time and a big waste of everybody's, time and money? I mean, it looks fun. It looks cool. I'm in for all big spectacle, big budget. You got to see it on the big screen, tentpole type movies, and Disney probably, like, after A Wrinkle in Time, kind of crapped the bed. They probably took a hard look at this movie and said, this better be good because, we keep, they make a ton of money on everything else, but, their other properties need to, like, perform too. Glenn, what do you think? Nutcracker and the Four Realms, something you're interested in?
I am not sure that I need the Nutcracker to be a big budget fantasy epic. Like, I don't know that I needed that in my life.
Maybe
we just had the Tim Burton Alice in Wonderland movies,
Well, this is Johnny Depp less.
Well, thank God.
Although he's coming up soon on our list, but
yeah. The less said about that, the better. I get like recontextualizing things to do different things with them to make them more interesting. I don't think making everything a big budget fantasy epic about a chosen one makes it more interesting at all. I think I'm kind of done with chosen ones too. There are a lot of things I'm done with.
Well, let's hopefully you're not done with this podcast.
Oh, not yet. We'll see.
It's still give it time. Scott, this tickle your fancy?
Of all the don't ever say tickle to me again. The Nutcracker's one thing that I don't think ever got a big budget blowout. So my interest is piqued. I kind of like the cast. I think Morgan Freeman's in it. And he's usually never in anything bad.
Yeah, Keira Knightley, Helen Mirren. Helen Mirren looks like
Helen Mirren. I mean, when's Helen Mirren ever in anything bad?
I think she's the villain too.
Yeah. So if my goddaughter wants to see it, maybe. I don't think I'd go out of my way to seeing it like alone or with other grown-ups. But if my goddaughter wants to see it, or maybe my niece, maybe. This might be another one I wait for Netflix on. But I'd be interested because I think this was one that I think never really got a big budget thing. The Nutcracker was always connected to the stage, whether it was music, Broadway, or ballet or something like that. So the Nutcracker never got this kind of like modern day cinematic treatment. And I agree with, and I partially agree with Glenn. I think it was probably not needed. I don't think this needs a big blown up thing. So we'll see. I probably will wait for like Netflix or HBO or whatever. But I would see it. I don't know if I'll go to the movies for it, but I'd probably see it.
Jenny, what about you?
I mostly agreed. Like, I feel like I would enjoy it more if I saw it at the theater because it looks beautiful. Like, I'm a sucker for the big set pieces and the costuming and the grandeur that it shows in the trailer. But it also kind of feels like I've seen this before, like Narnia, or like you said, Alice in Wonderland or whatever. So it doesn't look wholly original, but it does look beautiful. And I did love Beauty and the Beast. So I'm really mixed on it. Probably will not end up seeing it in the theater, but we'll definitely catch it on Redbox or whatever.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
And I like the cast quite a bit as well.
Yeah, if my kids want to see it, then we'll go. But if not, I'm unless maybe like we do I don't know if they do it down there by you, but like Tuesday nights, most of the theaters up here do like $7 movie nights. Mm-hmm. So maybe I'll check it out on one of those nights if I got nothing better to do. I mean, and speaking of like the Tales of Narnia, I mean, I so wanted to like those movies. I wanted to love those because I read those books when I was a kid, and they just were so We're not. I mean, Tilda Swinton was good, but other than that, they weren't. I wasn't a big fan of those movies. All right, so moving on, we got Bohemian Rhapsody, which looks friggin' phenomenal. I mean, Rami Malek, I think the guy's name is, from Mr. Robot. I mean, he just embodies Freddie Mercury. I mean, I just love, like, there's this one part in the trailer when I think they were doing Bohemian Rhapsody in the studio, and the guitar player's playing, and he goes, "What now?" He goes, "The operatic section." Operatic, and just the look on his face is just like, yeah, this guy's studied. This guy is just trying to embody Freddie Mercury. So, Scott, big Queen fan?
Oh, absolutely. I'm all in on this. Any music history movie, whether it's The Rose or The Doors, Almost Famous, which is another top 10 on my list, anything like that talks about a band or another period piece like that, you can count me in. Because, well, first of all, Freddie Mercury's life and career is very unique, both in life and in death. And Queen kicks ass and takes names. So it's one that definitely is going to have a lot of eyeballs on. These kind of movies usually don't get, quote, Oscar buzz. Maybe Rami Malek might, because again, Freddie Mercury is not an easy person. I've seen him what's what I'm thinking of, depicted in other films and other pieces, and they've just been so bad. They overdo the buck teeth, they overdo the lisp, they overdo the effervescence. It becomes almost a caricature. I have a feeling we're not going to get that with this one. So I'm all in on this, and I have good feelings about it.
Yeah, cool.
And it's Bryan Singer, who's not horrible directing, so it's not bad.
Yeah, but they booted him. He stopped showing up towards the end, I heard. So let's hope they piece it together. It looks really good. Glenn, you going to go see this one?
I'm going to try. I'm optimistic about this one. Freddie Mercury is my glam bisexual idol. So, and I think Rami Malek actually does a really good job embodying him. So I'm hopeful for it. There's another clip on YouTube that's not in the trailer where they're trying to get the singer to do the Galileos, and they keep telling him higher, higher, higher. And eventually he just yells at them, "How many Galileos do you want?" It is so fun. I can't wait for that sequence in the movie. I hope it's going to be a lot of fun.
Cool. Yeah, Jenny, what are your thoughts?
I will echo what those guys have said, and I'm a huge Rami Malek fan. He is tremendous on Dr. Robot, and I think that although there were like some unfortunate behind the scenes, like on the set, like nonsense, I don't think that ultimately it will go against the movie, the way that some of this like superhero stuff is done in the past. But I'm looking forward to the music, and also learning more about Freddie Mercury. Like, he's fascinating, and wondering what kind of spin they will eventually put on the movie, like how they will frame it, especially towards the end.
Yeah, how heavy are they going to go on the AIDS?
Exactly. Well, that's what I was tactfully trying to say.
Yes,
Well,
you were tiptoeing around it.
Well, let's put it this way. Dexter Fletcher replaced Bryan Singer, and Brian May and Roger Taylor are in on this. And Brian May is very, very protective of Freddie's legacy. So
yeah, and I know as all that unfolded, Freddie Mercury was very, very private.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. He literally did not. I mean, I have a pretty good history of it, and he literally did not tell the public he had AIDS till the day before he died.
Right.
That's how private he was. I mean, I remember there were videos when he sang The Great Pretender later on in the late 80s. I mean, you could tell obviously his I don't know if, I mean, his life, his private life was sort of private, sort of not. And so there was always, rumors of what was wrong with him, because in the late 80s when he was in music videos, he did not look well, and he was, maked up beyond belief. But Brian May was very, very protective of their legacy. Like, I would never have expected, not to go off the subject for a sec, but I never would have thought they'd pick Adam Lambert to be in his shoes. Paul Rodgers, frontman for Bad Company, who sang with Queen in the 2000s, that's one thing, or the 90s. Adam Lambert, I was a little skeptical on, but apparently he didn't do too bad. Now, having said that, again, the reason I'm saying that is because Brian May's involvement in this is making me optimistic that it's going to be good. It's not like The Doors, when Oliver Stone pretty much lied through half of it. Like, the whole story of Jim Morrison throwing a TV at everybody in the studio never happened. But, sometimes Oliver Stone has a vivid imagination on some of his films. But having said that, I think factually, I think we're going to be in for an okay film in that aspect, just because we see that the guys in Queen are going to have been involved in the production. So that's the only reason I feel optimistic about it.
Yeah, I do too. It looks like one of those movies just going to go in and you're just going to get blown away by the performances and all the music too. By Queen.
Yeah. Well, you'll be singing at your seat. I did that in Almost Famous. You end up sitting at you're hearing Bicycle Race or
Tiny Dancer.
Fat Bottom Girl. Yeah, exactly. I love the Tiny Dancer
Fever
scene.
Dog.
One of the greatest scenes ever. Fever Dog. Oh, it's great.
Love that
the
song.
soundtrack's awesome.
Yeah,
anyway.
It's not a podcast until Scott sings. So I think we're gonna skip over the next one on the list, which is gonna go with what Glenn said about the Nutcracker. There's apparently a full-length Dr. Seuss The Grinch movie coming out in November. Now, luckily, my kids are moving past that stage, so I probably won't get dragged to see it. Does anybody think we need or want or care about a full-length Grinch?
No.
Okay. Well,
I mean, there's one for every generation, I guess, and it's probably going to be better than the Jim Carrey one.
Yeah.
But we have the special every Christmas. That's the thing. It's on TV every Christmas.
Well, that's the thing. Nothing is going to be better than the original Grinch, because that's what I saw when I was 6 years old.
Yeah.
I don't know how kids are going to react to anything. So.
No, I think the animation looks really pretty. I think that Benedict Cumberbatch is a tremendous voice actor. just doing, the Grinch, I think is interesting. And then there's what got me on the trailer is the interactions between the Grinch and the people in Whoville. So like it shows his interactions with them and why he hates them. And I think that's interesting. I don't, I was not a big fan of the Jim Carrey version, but, I'm kind of hoping my kid gets obsessed with this so I can go see it.
Yeah, that's always the excuse. Like sometimes, like there's something that comes out that I want to see, but I won't admit it to them. You guys sure you don't want to see this? Come on, Oh crap. Okay, now I gotta wait for video. Damn it. So then probably what may be the biggest film, arguably the biggest film of the holiday season is coming out. It's Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald. I'll say that 10 times fast. With the aforementioned Johnny Depp in this. It looks really good. I'm a big fan of this spin-off of the Harry Potter universe that it takes place, about 100 years earlier in America. But apparently each movie, there's 5 of them that's going to be coming out, is going to take place in a different city. So I believe this one, I think they're going to do a lot of it in Paris, I believe, on this one. But I'm not afraid of Johnny Depp in this one because he's not going to be very Johnny Deppy, I think. When Johnny Depp comes into a movie and he's playing a minor character that becomes like the main focus, like in Alice in Wonderland, where, no, the Mad Hatter's not the lead in that. And also in that piece of shit Lone Ranger movie where Tonto is not the star. I'm sorry. You just because Johnny Depp wants to be goofy and parody, character in Indian. And apparently there was I don't know if you guys all saw that movie, but it was...
Hell no.
No, I did not.
I will say this before you finish, Andy. Okay. I did see Johnny Depp in the newest or the most recent version of Murder on the Orient Express.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
And he actually wasn't bad in that.
No,
he wasn't
he wasn't.
long, but he actually wasn't bad in that. I will say that.
No, he wasn't. When he's kept under control... I mean, Pirates of the Caribbean is a different story. I mean, I love, my feelings about those movies like kind of went down. It was like kind of like a relationship that sours over years. It's kind of like, oh, I love this first one. Oh, I like the second one. Oh, God, third one. The last one actually was kind of an upturn a little bit, not much.
I liked it,
but it was fun. That's what I have to say. But I'm really looking forward to this. This is opening weekend for me. Jenny. What about you? You a big Harry Potter verse fan?
This is for sure opening weekend. I have a huge, deep connection to Harry Potter to the point where, like, I try to avoid it because it's so, like, emotionally devastating to me. So it's like when I start to get in my feels about Harry Potter, it's like I fall into this deep well. And even when I was watching this trailer, I was like, holy shit, I got to go back and watch the first movie. And then it's like, oh no, I got to go back and watch the beginning of Harry Potter. And so I like kind of spiraled when I was watching this. This is for me. I loved the first one. I think that Jude Law as Dumbledore is genius casting. He's going to kill it. Just the effects. J.K. Rowling wrote this. Like, there's nothing about this that is turning me off. I'm there. I'm going to cry. It's going to be a thing. I promise.
And there's actually, they just announced, I think it was like late last week, that a character from the Harry Potter books is going to be in there in a different form. I don't know if you've heard.
Yes, I know who it is.
Yes. So, I mean, it's out there. I mean, I could say it's not going to spoil anything, but apparently, Nagini,
which is fascinating and something I never even thought of. Like, I didn't even think about it. So it's like, yes.
Yeah, Nagini, who was one of the snake and was one of the Horcruxes, actually was in human form. I forgot the exact made-up magical term for what affliction she has, which turns her into a snake for good. But that's going to be very, very interesting, and I think add another layer to this series. Maybe she'll become, Newt's nemesis throughout the rest of the movie franchise.
but like a reluctant villain, like a villain that you might, even though you know what ultimately happens to her, you might end up empathizing with her at this point, and I think that's amazing.
Yeah, we might see her turn, so to speak. Like it'll be like one of those slow turns over a movie or two. Scott, what are your thoughts on this sequel?
I am a huge Harry Potter fan. I read all the books. I didn't see all of the movies. I saw a few of them. I just never got around to it, but I'm looking forward to watching all of them. And having said that, I did not see the first one of this one, which I'm going to see because I want to see this. I just didn't have people around me that were big into the
universe,
this genre. So I didn't. So the first one I just never got to see because nobody would go, and I don't go to movies often alone. So I particularly one like that. But I'm gonna watch it now. I'm sure it's on. I don't know if it's on Netflix, but I'm pretty sure it's on HBO Go. So I'm gonna watch it.
I have it on Blu-ray. I can drop it over at your desk.
Oh, there you go. I appreciate that. And then I'll see. And then I'll definitely see this. But J.K. Rowling's a tremendous author, and she's obviously kind of pseudo expanding the Harryverse in print. I don't know if they'll ever go that far. Cinematically, they've got to go through this first, and I think it's better they do this because you kind of like prequels are easier to do than sequels of something because you can kind of build on your own. So I'm looking forward to this one. I definitely am.
Glenn, Johnny Depp aside, you looking forward to this?
I'm probably the lowest on the Harry Potter universe of our assembly here. I saw the mainline movie series, but I wasn't very heavily invested in it. I didn't read the books or anything. I bailed on it before the first Fantastic Beasts came out, so it's just not my bag.
All right, teach their own. Just nobody says you got to see everything. Speaking of seeing everything, though, we got a couple of movies. Now, this is going to be a battle at the box office, although they're different kind of crowds. We got Ralph Breaks the Internet, the sequel to Wreck-It Ralph, which I loved the first Wreck-It Ralph. I mean, it was kind of like, I call it like the video game equivalent of a Roger Rabbit, where you wouldn't think all these characters would be on screen together. And it was a lot of fun. And the second trailer dropped, I believe, last week, which, you saw the first trailer, and it was a lot of gags, a lot of Disney poking fun at themselves. There's a whole big scene with the princesses. But this actually gave you some tips about the story, why they're going into the internet and what's it all about. So I'm, very psyched for this. I don't know if you guys are Disney fans, going to Disney World. I was just down there last month, or actually August, and I went to the Void, which is like this interactive thing. They have a Star Wars thing where you go in there, and it was insane. They have a Ghostbusters one up here in the Northeast in Times Square at Madame Tussauds. But apparently they're putting a Wreck-It Ralph one, and I so wish I could get back down there as soon as that thing opens, because this is an all-in movie for me. Scott, you a Wreck-It Ralph fan?
I didn't see the first one. I have it
on Blu-ray. You can drop it at your
desk. Feeding me things in the black market. I'll probably see it. I may wait. I may wait till the small screen, but it's definitely something I'd see.
Okay, Jenny, I know you're going to see this.
By the way, on a side note, I just read this. This is Disney's, in terms of animated films, this is number 57.
Wow.
Their 57th animated feature film, starting with the official list started with Snow White in 1937. That was the first one. I'm not going to list them all, but anyway, that was the first one.
Thank you.
And yeah, I know.
That's just Disney.
So, that's just Disney animated.
Yeah, Walt Disney Animation.
Let me look at the list. I haven't. I won't read them, but let me just double check if Pixar counts.
No, I don't think Pixar's on that.
No, it does not count. No, I'm looking through the 90s, Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast. No, it doesn't count. Not Pixar. Okay. This is strictly Disney.
Cool.
Yep. So anyway, just want to tell you that.
Well, they got a long way to get to 500. I'll just say that.
Damn right. Damn fucking right they do.
I might lose some of my nerd cred here, but I didn't watch the first one either. I think it was just that weird, like, the time that it came out, like I didn't have a kid or my kid didn't care about it, or I don't know. It just somehow just escaped me, and I just never went back and watched it. It looks cute, and if that's something that my son gets interested in, yeah, I'll go and see it. I'm just not super invested in it, but hey, it's Disney. I mean, whatever. It's not going to be bad, I'm sure.
Glenn, are you an animated movie fan there?
I'll see a Pixar movie every few years or so. I'm not a big animation fan. This seems, it seems a little witty. Escaping into the internet seems, witty and a little bit of heart. It seems like a perfect kids movie.
Yeah, very cool. So, also coming out on November 21st is Creed 2. Now, I may need to borrow a disc from you, Scott, if you have this, because I have yet to see Creed. It's something that I've wanted to see since it came out, never got around to seeing it in the theater, and it's only been on, I believe, Epix, which is one of the cable channels I actually don't get. My insane price I pay for cable these days. But, Michael B. Jordan, phenomenal actor, Sly's in it, Dolph Lundgren's back. So, and they're building off the whole, his father got killed by, his father kind of fight. Trailer looks phenomenal. So, Scott, what do you say about this one?
Oh, it's going to be awesome. I'm going to leave it at that. Make it nice and quick. It's going to be awesome. Drago's son, Dolph's in it, Sly's in it. There's rumors, I don't know if it's true or not, that we may get a flashback with Carl Weathers. And since Apollo Creed is my favorite Rocky character of all time, that might be pretty damn awesome. I don't know if that's true or not, but there's a rumor that there is a Carl Weathers sighting as a flashback. But no, I'm all in on this. It's Rocky. It's part of the Rocky franchise, so count me in.
Glenn, are you a Rocky franchise fan?
I'm a little hesitant to admit this with Scott on the line because he might kick me. He might kick me off the site. This might be the last that you hear from me. I have never seen a Rocky movie.
Praise Jesus.
Jenny, you too?
I saw the first one. I was like, this is not for me. Sorry.
Oh, have another drink.
Fuck you as well.
That's all right, Glenn. I know. What? I'm telling you, have another drink. You're going to say no to that? No. Don't worry, Glenn. I know people that have never seen The Godfather, so don't worry about it.
I never saw The Godfather until like 2 years ago.
Yeah, me too. I was telling Scott earlier today. I didn't see The Godfather until a few years ago. Man, I got to do a show on everybody's shame list. All those movies that you should have seen but you haven't by now.
They did Godfather 1 and 2 in one of those, classic movie series at the local theater. And I went with my roommate at the time, and there were like 3 other people in the theater talking about how the kids don't appreciate it. There aren't so many people here. And I kind of perked up and said, I hope it's good.
I wish I was in the room with you, Glenn. God, I wish I was in there. Oh, that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Oh, jeez. Anyway.
All right, so we're going to move on. Jenny, you don't have any thoughts on Creed 2?
No, I'm interested. Like, the trailer was really good. Michael B. Jordan is awesome. The girl in this, I forget her name. She was Valkyrie.
Oh, yeah, Tessa Thompson.
Yeah, Tessa Thompson. She's really good.
Yep.
Like, this is a great trailer. So it did make me want to go back and watch the first one, which I probably will. But this one, I could probably wait. I'm not going to go to the theater to see it.
Oh, okay. Looking at my list, actually, there's another Robin Hood coming out, and with Jamie Foxx is in it apparently. And I watched the trailer, and it's a big "who fucking cares" thing. Like, my dad is a huge Robin Hood fan. He made me watch the Gene Kelly version as a kid, and I just loved it to pieces. So, anybody think that they should keep doing Robin Hood, King Arthur, all these other stories that are in the public domain that? No. Hey, we got a couple $1 million. Let's make a movie.
It's all well and good to do another one if you have some way to make it interesting and good.
Mm-hmm.
If it's just going to be like a random action movie retread, except he's got a bow and arrow or a crossbow or whatever, I don't see the interest in that, and I don't see how that's not going to just be boring. And I will stand for the Errol Flynn Robin Hood for the rest of my days. So I'm right there with
agree.
you.
Oh, that is awesome.
I agree. Yep.
All right, moving on. Mortal Engines comes out December 14th. I don't know if you guys knew anything about this movie before I put it on the list here, but this is Peter Jackson. It takes place in one of them. This is one of those dystopian futures where there's some kind of like apocalyptic event, and cities are now mobile, and apparently England is like the evil city. I don't know. It looks like a big spectacle. You know, if there's nothing to do that weekend, maybe I'll go check it out. I mean, I like Peter Jackson. I don't love his work, but it's something, you know, that could maybe kill a few hours on a crappy day. I know that's a ringing endorsement. Jenny, did you happen to check this one out?
I watched the trailer and then my note says meh. So meh. I just don't
agree.
care that much. I mean, I'm sure it's
I'll
fine.
leave it at that.
It's that in-depth analysis that we're giving the listeners right now of to save them their hard-earned money when going to the cinema. Glenn, anything to say on Mortal Engines?
Is this from like a novel series or a video game or something? Are there going to be 17 of these?
God, I hope not. And luckily, there's no like young heartthrob in it. So, like the Maze Runner series, I got dragged to by my daughter. Like I couldn't take it after the first one. I was like, oh, really? He got out of the maze. What else? Why is he called the Maze Runner still? And now there's zombies. What the fuck is happening? Literally, like I have another movie. I said that, and I'll talk about that in the B block. But so we're gonna move on to a movie that I actually think is gonna be better than people think. And that is the latest entry in the DCEU, which is Aquaman.
Oh, Jesus.
I'll let you. All right, let's. I'll give you your due in a second, Jenny. But it just looks like fun to me. I mean, Jason Momoa is, you know, quippy, giving these one-liners, and it's James Wan who did a great job on his Fast and Furious movies. You know, as long as the movie doesn't take itself too seriously and Zack Snyder stays the fuck away from it, it can be okay. So, Jenny, you're probably chomping at the bit right now. So, let's hear your thoughts on the upcoming Aquaman.
All right. So, I don't have the connection to Aquaman that other people do. I don't have the connection to Jason Momoa that other people do. I question everything that Warner Brothers does with superheroes right now. I don't know. I just don't know. And like, I'm one of those dumbasses that like Justice League, and I just wanted to, so I did. So just fuck it. But to me, I feel like they're going to end up rebooting everything, and I feel like this is a pointless movie. I hate to say it because they've done so much, especially like with Wonder Woman, and I just don't know how I feel about it. I'm in crisis about it, y'all. I don't know. I don't know what to do. I think that Amber Heard looks really good as Mira. I love Mira. I don't know.
Okay, we don't need to get we don't want to get you flustered here.
Somebody help me.
You're a little verklempt right now, Jenny. Scott, what do you have to say about Aquaman?
He was my favorite part of JLA.
Yeah, him in the Flash.
Yeah, I don't know. I was not a fan of the Flash. I thought it was a cheesy equivalent of them trying to be Spider-Man. To me, Flash is the CW Flash, but that's the Arrowverse because DC has many verses. I like the Arrowverse Flash, but anyway. And you know what? Dolph Lundgren's in it, so if I get a double dose of Dolph this fall, I'm thrilled. So, yeah, I'll go see this. I'm all right with it. I'm not as I'm kind of ambivalent to the DC verse as I am Marvel, which is probably the same opinion of many people. Yeah, I'll probably see it. I'll be fine with it.
I keep hoping DC turns their shit around because as a kid, you know, I grew up with, you know, the Super Friends I wasn't really into Marvel as a kid. Like, I knew of Marvel, but, every Saturday morning I was watching the Super Friends, and even when they had that crappy one with those two teenagers in it. But it was my favorite. Sorry.
Are you bad-mouthing the Wonder Twins?
No, not the Wonder Twins. No, the when it was like the one of the later ones where they had the dog in it, and I forgot the names of them. I'm like totally blanking on it right now. No, I actually love the Wonder Twins. I was at a comic book show, and I saw Wonder Twin figures, and it took all the power of my being. I think they wanted like $95 for the set of the two of them. No Gleek. Oh. But I was very, it took a lot from me because I had my kid there, and I didn't want to think he was going to be able to play with it. Come on. This is an action figure. It's not a toy. Anyway, Glenn, are you a DC EU fan?
The only DC movie in the current verse that I've seen is Wonder Woman, which I liked. And I thought heading into this whole release slate for the DC movies, I figured Wonder Woman and Aquaman would be the ones that I might actually be interested in. But that trailer for Aquaman was rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very CG heavy, and there's a lot of like something. Isn't there like an octopus playing drums or something in it or something?
Under the sea.
Yeah, I mean, no, I'm not kidding. I heard them mention. I have to go back and watch it again. I heard it on like another podcast. So like, there's jellyfish lighting up the arena, and there's a whole big to do. I don't know. It just looks like
there's a way you can do that works, but I just don't know that WB knows how to do that. If that
exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's been the big problem over there. They don't have a Kevin Feige.
It hurts my heart. It really does. They do in Jeff Johns, but they just can't. They just can't.
No, they moved him
right.
on. Jeff Johns.
I know.
Moved on.
They had it, but
yeah. So okay, so we're kind of mixed on Aquaman. It's like kind of like we'll see it. Maybe I don't know. So then we also have
see it. It's just
I'm gonna see it. Let's not get crazy. Come on.
Yeah.
All right, so we have Bumblebee coming out with. We finally get our John Cena heel turn in this movie. So it looks really good. It's again a period piece, takes place in the 1980s with and the best part, no Michael Bay. He is not going to shit on my childhood anymore with this franchise, I hope. I mean, I walked into the first Transformers movie so hopeful, and I walked out so disappointed. I actually was saying to my buddy Steve, like I could not stop talking like comic book guy. Okay, Devastator was actually 6 Constructicons put together, not one robot. I was like, it really made me angry.
That's a really good comic book guy, by the way.
So, yes, I would be blunt if I will. Thank you. Glenn, what about you? What's your feelings on Transformers, and is Bumblebee something you'll look to see?
Well, it would be interesting to see Bumblebee straight up murder John Cena. As seemed possible from the end of that trailer. I was not a fan of the first Transformers movie, and one time I watched the second on a dare. And after that, I have scrupulously avoided them. So I don't even know what in the world the state of that franchise is, other than every few years Paramount needs to pump one out. So no, I don't think this one is for me, even though, if it really doesn't have Michael Bay, if it's, a period piece, which I actually hadn't put together from the trailer. So, okay. Is it possible that it's different enough that it may actually be good? I think that's the only question people have hanging over them, when they see the trailers and whatever else about the movie. Like, is it different enough that it may actually be good? Is it possible?
Maybe. Scott, what are your feelings on Bumblebee?
Well, I'm actually watching the original series. I just got the original series set on DVD, so I'm watching it. And last Thursday, down at Portchester, I actually watched the Transformers the movie, not the Michael Bay one, the actual movie that came out in 1986 on the big screen.
Touch.
Oh, so great, so great. And I'm ambivalent. I know I've used that word often tonight, but I'm ambivalent with the Michael Bay movies. They're there, whatever. I'm actually kind of pumped for this because, and let's be honest, Glenn, we know what's going to happen in the end. John Cena's going to return babyface because he can't help himself, and him and Bumblebee will be best friends at the end of the movie. It's just he's going to kill the girl, and him and Bumblebee will be best friends at the end because that's just the way John Cena is. But no, I think it's going to be good. I think it'll be good. Bumblebee is a lot of people's favorites. Next to if you poll people like Transformer diehards, obviously a lot of people. Their favorite is a lot of fans. Their favorite's usually Optimus Prime, but I think Bumblebee is on that list because he was like the cool little sidekick, Beetle.
He was as kids when we were kids when the cartoon is on, he was identifiable. Like we could identify with Bumblebee because he was like the kid brother.
Yep, absolutely. Sitting with Hot Rod, and all the smaller ones like Cliff Jumper and all those. Oh, yeah. But I think this one's going to be good. I think this one should be fine. Because it's just I don't know who else is in it. If any of the other ones are going to be in it. The trailer looks like it will, so we'll see what they do. But if it's a prequel to Michael Bay's, or if there's no Transformer-verse, I don't know if this is going to be part of the others. I don't know, but I'm looking forward to it.
Actually, this is well, let me get to one. So in the trailer, Shockwave, is it Shockwave or Soundwave is in it, and Ravage comes out like a cassette, like he did in the cartoon. Mm-hmm. So it looks like they really studied the cartoon. Michael Bay probably never saw a cartoon in his life because he didn't get the Transformers at all. But no, this is actually, from what I've heard, it's supposed to be part of a larger cinematic universe with now. Listen to this: G.I. Joe, Mask, and Micro Machines. I'm just gonna let that settle in for a second.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, again, G.I. Joe, like when we were kids, I'd come home from school and all those great cartoons, were on. It was Thundercats, it was Mask, it was G.I. Joe, it was Transformers, all in the afternoon. And now, like, they can't get these movies right to save their lives. Like, I would love a Mask movie because nobody. You had to have really loved that movie, that TV show, to even know what Mask is today.
Funny you said Micro Machines because what's his name? The fast-talking guy in the commercials?
John Machida.
He was in Transformers the movie. He was a Transformer.
Oh.
Pretty funny.
Let's hopefully they don't have racially insensitive Transformers like they did in the second one.
Are you and on a side note, you're telling me nobody told Michael Bay Optimus Prime does not have a mouth? I mean,
or he doesn't harm humans. Like he basically just kills Kelsey Grammer.
Yeah, I mean, seriously.
Spoiler alert.
Well, who among us hasn't been there?
No one wants to kill Frasier. Anyway, getting back to Bumblebee, I'm definitely in on Bumblebee.
And then finally, the last movie we'll talk about in this block is Mary Poppins Returns, which, I don't think they could have cast this better. Seriously, with Emily Blunt taking over for Julie Andrews. I mean, they have as much as the original cast, I believe, is going to be in, as far as I know. But I don't think my kids have watched the original Mary Poppins, and I'm reluctant to show it to them because I learned my lesson with Ghostbusters. Like, I don't know if they'll really get the original, but
they'll break your heart.
Yeah, I know. It's just like I sat there like, oh my God, Jessica, why don't you love this movie? What's wrong with you? But Scott, you're a Mary Poppins fan. So what? No, I'm being all serious.
No, I am.
We've actually,
I am a Mary Poppins. It's actually.
Let's pull back the thing.
I appreciate the chuckle, Jenny.
Scott and I talk like almost every day because we work in the same building. Mm-hmm. So I'm not speaking out of turn here. Believe it or not. In terms of the live action or live, Disney movies, Mary Poppins is actually my favorite Disney movie. Loved it as a kid and can still watch it now. Am I skeptical of this one? It's a sequel. It's not like they're a remake and a sequel are two different things. If Emily Blunt was going to be Mary Poppins in an original, I'd have a problem. To me, there's only one Mary Poppins, Julie Andrews. End of story.
Now, sadly, a lot of the awesome obviously, most of the original characters have passed away, including Michael. One of the kids passed away, actually very young in life. No, I'm in for this one. The cast is good. I'll definitely see this one. And believe it or not, this has the cinematic record for the largest gap between original film and sequel, 54 years between the first Mary Poppins and this one, which is the biggest gap between a movie and a sequel in cinematic history. Wow. So interesting. But no, count me in for this one. I'll definitely see this one. I don't know if I'll see it Christmas Day, but I'll probably see it Christmas week at some point. Yeah. But no, I'm in on it. Absolutely.
Jenny, you going to go see this one?
I'm going to be at Disney on Christmas.
Oh, awesome.
So you'll be able to avoid it.
You're right. So it might be just a thing that ends up happening. But, yeah, I don't remember the last time I watched Mary Poppins, the original, but I think that Emily Blunt surely has the pipes for it. And she's talented. She knows what she's doing, and I think if anybody can pull it off, it's her.
Glenn, Mary Poppins, is that something you'd like to see?
It's a definite maybe. I think this all just seems so charming and endearing. It's just so cute. I love the montage of cameos in the trailer. I love they got Dick Van Dyke as the dancing old man. That's perfect. Angela Lansbury, who would have expected her in a new movie? It's great. Oh my.
Is that both of us? Is that all three of us except Jenny?
Maybe. I think it's interesting that out of the original cast that's still with us, Julie Andrews chose not to be involved, but I think she knew. I think pretty much everyone would have had to know that she would have tilted the whole thing if she was there. So I think it's smart for her to not kind of overshadow Emily Blunt. I think Emily Blunt will do great. I think the whole thing will just be charming.
Cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So that's going to wrap up our looking forward segment. Awesome first segment, guys. I think there's a lot of good movies coming out, a lot of questionable choices in the cinemas, but hopefully we'll either save people some money or cost people some money. Who knows? So we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to look back at the summer movies of 2018. So looking back, episode number 1 with Jenny Smith, Scott Criscuolo, and Glenn Butler. I'm Andy Atherton. We'll be back in a few.
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey, pro wrestling announcer Kevin Kelly here. I want to make sure you are all subscribed to all the great feeds here at Place to Be Nation. It's really easy to do. Just head to iTunes or your preferred podcatcher app today and search and subscribe to the Place to Be Nation wrestling feed, which of course includes the full archives of the Kevin Kelly Show, the Place to Be Nation pod feed, and the Pro Wrestling Only feed. Subscribe, listen, and then rate us and leave feedback today. And be sure to give Justin your true thoughts. I mean, don't hold back. After all, he is kind of a jerk. Just listen to Scott.
Place to Be Nation's JT Rosero and Chad Campbell here. We want to let you know that we have a ton of great podcasts available to you on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and PlaceToBeNation.com. We offer them to you on 2 great feeds. On the Place to Be Nation wrestling feed, we bring you the Mothership, the Place to Be podcast, along with Main Event, Survey Says, the Monday Night Wars, and our monthly pay-per-view reaction show, as well as Jeff Learns Wrestling. In addition to these full-length shows, we also deliver special network podcasts and pod blasts on topics old and new.
Over on the Pro Wrestling Only feed, we dive deep inside the wrestling business with a stacked army of experts leading the way. The feed features potpourri shows such as This Week in Wrestling, Greetings from Allentown, Match of the Week podcast, and the Military Industrial Suplex. We also have shows that focus intently on certain topics like Through the Years, Worldcast, Strong Style History, Strong Style Story, and Mount Olympus. Plus, the feed has the full archives of legendary shows like Titans of Wrestling, Where the Big Boys Play, Letters from Center Stage, and Letters from Kayfabe, plus much more. And on our very popular Place to Be Nation Pop podcast feed, we offer such great shows as Talkin' Pop, the Glenn Butler Podcast Hour Spectacular, NBA Team, PTBN Play, Sunday Groove, Breaking Balls, and Lucha Undead,
as well as a veritable podcast heaven for comics fans
with the hard-traveling fanboys, Sellers Points, Todd Weber's Conversations, Geek and Sassy, and Marvel Age podcasts.
You can find all of these current shows, plus archives of our past podcasts, including The Kevin Kelly Show, as well by subscribing to both feeds on iTunes. And while there, be sure to rate and leave feedback today. All these shows, plus others, available at PlayStation.com, where we cover pro wrestling, sports, movies, comics, plus in-depth stretch projects, and more. Be sure to support our site by using PlayStation.com/Amazon when doing your online shopping, and download our free PTB Vintage Vault Refresh ebooks via the links on our site. We also want to thank our friends at Boneheads Wing Bar in West Warwick, Rhode Island, and Fall River, Massachusetts, and historyofwrestling.com. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr as well. PlayStationNation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Place to Be Nation, welcome back to Looking Forward, Looking Back, Episode 1. We've looked forward, now it's time to look back. But before we do that, we're going to talk about PlaceToBeNation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world, and talk about some of the great written content on there. One of our guests tonight, Glenn Butler, with his weekly Wednesday Walk Around the Web. Glenn, you want to tell if we have any new listeners listening, what that's all about?
Sure. The Wednesday Walk Around the Web is a weekly link roundup of articles or posts from around the internet that I think are interesting or funny or maybe illuminating in some way that I've been doing for quite a long time. Been doing it on Place to Be for, since the beginning of 2014 now. So that's been a while. I think it's an interesting collection every week. If you're looking for diversion or just a walk around the web, it is up at PlaceToBeNation.com at 9 a.m. sharp every Wednesday.
It's a lot of fun. I've read it many times myself. Another panelist tonight, Scott Criscuolo, with his campus hot takes that he has up there every week for those college football fans. Scott, you want to talk a little bit about that column?
Yeah, every Tuesday about 4 o'clock, myself and the awesome Logan Crosland, we recap the weekend in college football for you, the big games, any of our hot takes of what happened, and then look ahead to the big games this coming weekend. We did it back in 2016. We, due to time issues and stuff like that, we didn't do it last year, but we brought it back this season. The column is up today from this past weekend. We had some huge games: Penn State, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Stanford. Big win for Clemson. So, and looking ahead to this week as well. So check it out, and check it out every Tuesday. Hits the site around 4 o'clock, and you get your college football fix.
Awesome. Place to Be Nation has a lot of different kinds of content. We got comics, we have movie talk, we have a lot of sports, a lot of wrestling, and other fun columns like the Seinfeld rewatches with JT and a bunch of other fine folks there. So check it out, PlaceToBeNation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world. So let's move on to let's look forward. Looking back. Sorry, jitters a little bit. It's still my I'm only one hard cider in, so haven't calmed the nerves as much as I hoped.
Jenny thinks you're a rook.
I know. Well, I am a rookie.
That is weak, man.
I know.
It's not even an IPA like I'm drinking.
My next show, I'll break out the Captain Morgan. How's that?
There you go.
All right, so we're going to look back to the summer, and the summer started, in my opinion, a little early. I'm going to just briefly mention the first movie on the list, which was Rampage, which I think I was the only one that saw this movie out of the panel here tonight, and it was just The Rock being The Rock. I played the video game Rampage growing up. I actually have a mini version of it in my little collection that I have in my living room of mini video game cabinets. It was a fun game. You got to be like, a monster, a lizard, a wolf, or a gorilla. And they somehow tried to turn that into a movie. And it was not very successful. The best part, in my opinion, was Jeffrey Dean Morgan trying to not be Negan, but he couldn't help himself. For those Walking Dead fans, I mean, it was just like my daughter was hitting me in the movie theater because I got her into The Walking Dead. And like she's sitting there and he just turns and goes, "What? You didn't hear about the 50-foot wolf?" And she's like, "He's Negan." I said, "I know." This is so exciting. Anyway, so that's my spiel about Rampage. So we're going to move on to the real juggernaut of the season, even though that's a different universe. But Avengers Infinity War. Now, Jenny, you've already done an in-depth show on this incredible blockbuster. Can you, just give us your brief thoughts? And then that was with your Talking Pod partner, Tim, I believe, right?
It was with Tim and Nick Duke, one of the Hard Traveling Fanboys. And we ended up talking longer than the actual movie.
It was a great show. I listened to it when you guys posted it.
We were all real fresh off the movie, so we were just word vomit, especially Nick. But it's the culmination of fucking 20 years worth of superhero movies. So or 10 years. It's amazing. It blew me away. Josh Brolin just totally won me over as Thanos, and I don't even like Josh Brolin. Tim had different thoughts about the movie, but I think he was in the minority.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. I mean, I never walked out. I mean, I remember seeing it at the movies. It was me, my kids, my girlfriend, and her son, and he just got into the MCU like sometime last year. Like he had never really watched anything, so I started bringing him over Blu-rays, and he got into it, and he caught up like really quick. And when the movie ends, and I never heard like a groan throughout the whole place because nobody could believe that they actually did that. And he just sat there like catatonic. I'm like, Colin, it's time to leave the movie theater. It's over. And then he was like so upset. And I'm like, it's a movie. I
love that.
Black Panther made $1 billion. They're not going to kill him off.
How do you not feel it in your soul when Peter Parker says, "Mr. Stark, I don't feel so good," and then God.
There've been so many great memes with that though. Like they had one with Jeffrey the giraffe when Toys R Us was going out of business. He's like, "I don't feel so good." So Glenn, Avengers: Infinity War. What are your thoughts on that movie?
I think it's amazing how well Marvel does at achieving all of its goals. I think it's important to judge things as they are and not for what they're not, usually. This is, like Jenny said, it's the culmination of 10 years of movies. It's the huge, sprawling blockbuster with 7 million characters. And it's always throwing something different at you because it has so many stories going on and so many characters and so many different situations that it's like drinking from the fire hose.
It was definitely a feat. I think that's one of the best words to describe it. The Russo brothers, it was like, you took this larger universe and you brought it all together. And honestly, I don't think any character was really underserved at all in this movie, that appeared in this movie at least. Where the fuck was Hawkeye? But
no, that's okay.
you're not a Hawkeye. The city's flying and I have a bow and arrow. None of this makes sense.
Well, I mean, he hasn't been the best served by these movies, but he's going to be in the next one, isn't he? It's fine.
Yeah.
Scott, what are your thoughts on Infinity War?
It was tremendous. It was a good culmination of 10 years, which I'm floored by the fact that the MCU is 10 years old. I mean, I remember actually sitting in the theater for the first Iron Man, wondering what the fuck they were going to do, and
Me too.
What the hell? And look where we've come. And the fact that we're waiting an entire year. We get. I mean, and I know we'll talk about it in a moment. Ant-Man and the Wasp was good. Obviously, we have a big one coming out in March. that will kind of be the catalyst for us for the big one, for the next one in May. But I was just, I was like your kid. I was literally staring at the Peter Parker thing. I mean, that was perfect cinema right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
The fact that vision of Thanos, who's one of my favorite comic bad guys ever. I loved Thanos. Actually, it's a tie because they're both kind of the same villain from different universes, but I loved Darkseid and Thanos, and they're both pretty much the same character. But that vision of him just sitting back and looking and relaxed while he just wiped out half of them is just so unsettling.
Yeah,
it's unnerving that he was so relaxed. Hey, I did what I needed to do. Meanwhile, everybody is a pile of stuff. I mean, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. And I think in a roundabout way, and we'll talk about it, I know, with the next few movies, it hurt. I think it almost hurt the rest of the spring and summer in terms of cinema fatigue. But I'll get into that when we get to another movie that Andy knows I'm going to talk about.
Oh, yeah. You'll have your platform, sir.
Yeah. Having said that, the movie was amazing. Amazing. I hope they didn't jump the shark, to use an old school TV term. Maybe they did. I doubt it. Too much money at stake. Too much in general at stake. But if they did, I'm perfectly fine with that film being that good. So,
yeah, I mean, I think the best part about Thanos was that the best villains a lot of times are the ones that don't even think they're villains. They think that they're doing the right thing. They think he thought he was doing the right thing for the universe. Like they need this like kind of purge kind of thing, and he was almost sympathetic kind of. He made you kind of. Not like you felt for him, but because he was a bad guy, but you kind of like he had his beliefs and he stuck to them.
That's what made it so unnerving. Absolutely,
yeah. He wasn't like big flashy. Like no, this is this is worked out. This is what's best for business, to quote somebody's favorite wrestler. So moving on to somebody who is actually probably joining the MCU shortly, which was Deadpool 2. So, am I the only one on this panel that saw Deadpool 2?
I
did.
it.
Oh, yeah? Oh, that's right. That's why we have Facebook Messenger. Yeah, I mean, I loved it. I mean, I thought it was, I don't know if I loved it more than the first one, because, it was a little too meta at times, but, the whole kind of twist at the end was a lot of fun, and it was probably the best X-Men movie that's come out in a long time. So, Glenn, are you a fan of Ryan Reynolds?
I am a fan of the Deadpool movies, for certain. I think the second one had to up the ante over the first one, and I think they accomplished that. I wasn't such a big fan of the whole plot where, like, he's striving to get back to his wife or whatever. She's hanging out in like limbo or heaven or whatever as a prize for him. That was not so hot. But all the stuff with all the stuff with Cable and all the stuff with the X-Force was amazing.
Oh yeah, I love the whole X-Force bit. I mean, it was like it's been long enough. Did anybody put Brad Pitt in a cameo just to kill him off?
Seriously.
Anyway,
I think, to your point about this being maybe the best X-Men movie, I think the Deadpool movies kind of kill the X-Men series. Like after you take that universe, that environment or whatever to this point, how do you go back and do a normal X-Men movie?
No, which is why we're getting Dark Phoenix and that other New Mutants movie.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out. I have my expectations.
I don't think so. I think they're just going to retcon the X-Men. Glenn, any more thoughts on Deadpool 2?
No, I'm good.
All right. Jenny.
I loved it as much as the first one. I laughed until I almost peed my pants. Ryan Reynolds was born to be Deadpool. Fucking Josh Brolin, like, I have to like him now, right? Because, like, he totally won me over in 2 movies this summer. And I don't want to like him at all, but I do. He was awesome as Cable. His turn at the end was just priceless. Just it's just a fucking batshit crazy movie that just works on every level. Amazing.
Yeah, they're actually, I heard today on a film podcast I listened to that they're re-releasing Deadpool 2 in December with a PG-13 cut.
I don't understand that at all. Why?
I mean, so, people like my 11-year-old son can go see it, who's dying to see the first one.
Okay.
Is it literally just the Celine Dion song?
I'm sorry, like, I understand I'm an unconventional mother. Like, I would let my 9-year-old watch Deadpool, but, I mean, like, that's a personal choice, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't want him repeating lines like, I don't want him walking into middle school like going, time to make the chimmy fucking chongas.
Worth it.
I did watch the first one. I let my daughter, I think I let her watch it last year. So she was 15. And when they got to the calendar girl scene, I fast forwarded through it. She's like, what are you doing? I'm like, nope, not seeing this one with you. Nope. If you want to sneak behind my back and see it like a normal kid, go ahead. I am not watching this scene with my daughter. Just moving on.
Look at you with your responsible parenting.
I know, I'll tell you. I fast forward through the sex scene, I'm like really glad like I didn't take her to the theater to see that because I would have been like, So here's my ex-wife calling me up. What did you do? I was like, nothing.
Way to kill everyone's drink buzz.
No, I liked it.
Scott, Deadpool 2?
I did not see it.
No.
I did not see it.
What?
I did not see it. Yeah, I know. I did not see it.
Boy,
but I will.
That's all right. We'll forgive you. Now,
Live
Scott,
Any
you're
live
gonna.
watch? Yes.
We could do a live watch. I'm down for that. Hey, let's talk to the the hard traveling fanboys. Maybe something that's up their alley.
Oh, I'm sure it will be.
Yeah, and Jenny and Tim, go ahead. Let's make a party. Mm-hmm. Book it. You have kind of pulled right. Place to be Nation, Scott. Come on.
Yeah, well, historically, as we do with our Christmas specials, when there's 406 people on the internet, we usually break it. So I don't know how many, I don't know if you count that with streaming. We may go about 3 minutes, and then we may go boom, and then it may vanish.
All right, now Scott, we're going to move on to a movie. Well, I don't know if you want to put on mute or hold your tongue. Let us get like a word in edgewise because I know you have a lot to say about Solo, a Star Wars story. Now, I personally, I did enjoy the movie. I thought, how he got his name, whatever. I just think the problem with the movie wasn't the movie itself, or it was the time it was released. This should have been out in December. We, talk about fatigue. It was like we just had a Star Wars movie. We're conditioned growing up that we got a Star Wars movie every 3 years while they're in the middle of a trilogy. So having one like 8 months afterwards, it was kind of like, oh God, we just saw Luke turn to like hopefully it'll be a Force Ghost in the next one, and we just went through all of that, and Carrie Fisher died, blah blah blah, and all that stuff, and it's like, okay, oh yay, another Star Wars movie. We didn't really have time to like let Last Jedi sink in till we got ready for the next story, whether it be like part of the Skywalker saga, whether it be a side story, a prequel, whatever. So, but on the whole, though, I thought, I mean, I did enjoy it. It was a lot of fun at the movie theater. Glenn, Star Wars fan?
Oh, yeah, big time.
I know you're a Trekkie.
That too.
Yes.
You can like more than one thing. I've discovered over time.
You just a Trekkie. That's great.
Yeah. Actually, I believe the last episode of the Glenn Butler Podcast Hour Spectacular that I actually managed to like make and release and stuff was about Solo.
It was.
So you can go there to see voluminous thoughts from myself and my brother about that. I liked this movie so much more than I thought I was going to. I assumed going in that it was going to be the Star Wars movie that would be like Disney's apology to the people who raised such a hue and cry over the previous few because they were so mad that Star Wars has women in it now. And getting so upset about some supposed agenda about it. I thought that this movie would be a big sop to those people. And it had those instincts to an extent, but there were important ways in which it wasn't. And I really appreciated that. Unfortunately, I think Han Solo was the least interesting character in the movie, but that might be kind of a structural issue. I agree with you that it should not have come out in the spring. I really don't think they needed to rush to keep that release date when they changed directors and rewrote half the movie. I think they could have delayed it at that point and everyone would have understood. But for more on that, again, you can look up my dedicated podcast about that. So that I yield the rest of my time. I know we're going to be here for a bit.
All right, Jenny, your thoughts.
All right. Well, all right. I did not like The Last Jedi as much as I wanted to. And I did not like this as much as I wanted to. And it's not because my fan theories didn't pan out or some other bullshit reasons that people on the internet have. I just none of it felt right. Like none of the reactions to the story felt genuine. It tried to be lighthearted, and then also it was dealing with this like heavy storyline. I don't know. None of it worked for me. Chewie was great. That's about it. I just and like I wanted to. Nobody wants to like this shit more than me. I'm a fangirl, but it just fell short.
Oh yeah, I mean, you just put Star Wars in the title, and all of us.
I'm wearing Star Wars pants right now. I fucking love Star Wars. I just can't with this movie.
All right, Mr. Criscuolo, the floor is yours.
The first thing I'm going to say is I do agree that it should not have been released in May. It should have been. We should be looking forward to it in a couple of months. I agree with that 100%. I think cinematically we've come to the point where the spring belongs to Marvel and Christmas belongs to Lucasfilm. I'm fine with that. And then, yeah, the other Marvels come out in the middle, Ant-Man and the Wasp, but they're not at that level like the Avengers movies are. Like I'm not going to, you don't compare, Black Panther or Thor Ragnarok to Infinity War. You just don't. So, yes, I think Solo did hurt from that because the two directors were way over their head, and Kathleen Kennedy knew that, and that's why she brought in Opie to fix it. And to his credit, Ron Howard did a pretty good job of cleaning up under the circumstances. But I think they should have given him more time, and I would have had zero problem waiting until December. Having said that, I love the movie. And Han Solo is my favorite absolute Star Wars character from when I was 6 years old. First of all, I'm a huge Harrison Ford guy, but Han Solo was awesome. I can recite every single line from episodes 4, 5, and 6 of all of his dialogue. That's how much I love Han Solo. So if anybody had over-the-top, ludicrous expectations for Solo, you're talking to him right now. I think the thing that pissed me off the most is people have ludicrous expectations and said some really dopey things down the line. They said, "Why was he so nice? He's supposed to be a grumpy bastard, like he was in the like Harrison Ford was in the fourth one. You're not born that way, asshole. There was always a reason why he became what he became. He was disillusioned as he was when he was in the Republic, when he was in the rebellion or whatever, and he found a way to make a living, and that's how he became who he became. I love the relationship he created with Chewie because that's how tight they were, and that's how tight they always were, and that was awesome. We got a fantastic depiction of Lando Calrissian. Fantastic depiction of Lando Calrissian. I saw comments like, I didn't see Vader. Oh, for fuck's sakes. Really? He's got to show up in everything? No, he doesn't. Grow up. I think the thing that pisses me off the most is, and this is why Bob Iger and the people at Lucasfilm now said, well, because we were supposed to get a Obi-Wan spinoff movie, we were supposed to get a Boba Fett spinoff movie, but now that everybody and Glenn, both you and Glenn and Jenny, your criticisms of it are valid, but you guys are also very calm and reserved. Some people were just unreasonable and downright ignorant in a lot of their opinions of the film and why. And now they're like, well, fuck you then. Now Lucasfilm's like, well, there goes those. You don't want you thought this sucked? Well, guess what? Your other anthologies are gone. Screw you. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And that's the truth. And the problem is, and this goes across all levels of pop culture, whether it's movies, wrestling, anything. Fans, a lot of fans seem to think they own the domain because they're the consumer. They somehow seem to think they're the only ones whose opinions make a fucking difference. No, they don't. We're just fans. We're not the ones we're not Kathleen Kennedy, who's got $1 billion empire on her shoulders that she's got to keep going. And all these people sat here and trashed the shit out of this movie for silly reasons. And, we needed a Vader sighting. No, we didn't. Why? Just because he was in Rogue One? He was supposed to be in fucking Rogue One. The basis of the plot was him and the Death Star plans. The expectations were unrealistic because it was Han Solo. Rogue One was a different story because even though Rogue One, I'm not going to count the episodes 7 and 8. Those are different. That's a different debate because those have their own expectations, kind of like Infinity War. Rogue One, even though we knew the story, we had no frame of reference. So they could have done anything. All we know is that a group of misfits stole the Death Star plans and sent them to and got them to Princess Leia. That's all we knew. How you get there is whatever you want to do. And we're fine with it because we have no frame of reference for us to say, well, that's wrong. Even the novels didn't really get into it. Solo, admittedly, was a different story because you're talking about the backstory of arguably the most popular character of all time. It's either Leia, Luke, or Han, or Vader. But the Vader backstory was covered, obviously, in the prequels. Having said that, it wasn't bad. But the expectations were so high that people just were ludicrous in their destroying of the film to the point where we may not get the anthology movies we want now. Whether it's an Obi-Wan Kenobi bridge between 3 and 4, which was very well done in the comic books over the last few years by Marvel, or a Boba Fett backstory, which we kind of got in the prequels, but how about his growing up, or a movie with bounty hunters. Now we got to sit around and get nothing. So to those entitled fans who seem to think that just because they buy a ticket, they have a right to dictate and feel like they own the brand because they're the fan. Shut the fuck up. Really. Enjoy what you get. And I think the 1.5 year wait for episode 9 is going to be worth it, my opinion. Was episode 8 perfect? No. Did it suck? No. Had its issues, but it wasn't. But it didn't need. It served its purpose, in my opinion. But for people to get that feeling, and it happens with wrestling. Glenn, we've talked about it on past casts. Daniel Bryan, etc. And that's what the problem is in wrestling now. Is the fan base seems to think they can control everything because they got the WWE to change their minds. But that's a different podcast for a different feed. But the same thing applies here. We're just fans. We show up, we watch the movie, and we're good. It was good. It was all right. But to go on boards and to go on Kathleen Kennedy's or Lucasfilm's Twitter and just destroy people like you own the Lucasfilm brand is criminal. And now we may not get awesome future anthology movies for a long time to come because of it. And that's a crime. Now, Jon Favreau's doing a series. We'll see how that goes. And we are going to get episode 9 in a little over a year. But Solo was much better than the rumors made it out to be. And I thought, as much as it had its moments that it could have been better, it was unfairly destroyed by those who seem to think they're entitled to tell the Lucasfilm people their job. Host, the mic is back to you.
Feel better now?
Much better.
Okay. Yeah, that was, I concur with all you said. And we're actually getting 2 other separate trilogies. There's one that Rian Johnson is going to be writing and directing, and there's another one that a pair of Game of Thrones writer-directors are going to be working on. They're going to be separate from each other. They're going to take place in different parts of the galaxy, so to speak.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, yes. So, moving on.
I want to say one thing. Actually,
okay,
I have one point before
Scott.
you continue. Glenn, I want to back your point up about the whole, my God, there's women in Star Wars. We do realize that in Episode 4 in 1977, of the 3 stars, who's the one that had the most clout? The princess. So for those troglodytes who seem to not understand that women have been in power in the Star Wars universe forever, read the books. Morons. Thank you, Glenn, for that point. You're exactly right.
Well said. Well said.
Thank you.
All right, so moving on through the summer, we had some okay movies coming out. We had Ocean's 8, which was decent. Jenny, did you happen to see that one?
I did not, no.
No. I mean, it's worth seeing when it makes its way to streaming. I mean, it's a fun movie. It's kind of predictable, but, I thought the ensemble did well. The whole time you're trying to take yourself out, though, of, like, the whole Ocean's 11, like, which one's the Rusty, which one's the Linus. But, it was fun, and we enjoyed it. And then there was Tag, which was a not great attempt at an R-rated comedy, with the aforementioned Hawkeye in that movie, Jeremy Renner. And then we had Incredibles 2, which was, probably I would say the second best superhero movie of the summer. Well, 14 years between the movies, I heard it a little bit, I think. But it was fun to see, speaking of empowered women, Elastigirl really was the star of the movie, which was a lot of fun. I don't think anybody else here saw it unless, Jenny, you went to see it with your kid.
No, I didn't. It's kind of in that realm with Wreck-It Ralph. Like, The Incredibles was just never one of my favorites, so no, I did not see it.
If there's any Pixar movie, though, that begs for a TV series, it's The Incredibles, because they could just have, like, villain of the week. It's a lot of fun, that franchise. And then Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom.
Yes.
Jurassic Park is actually my favorite movie of all time. Not so crazy about the sequels. I actually really enjoyed Jurassic World because it was like, we got the theme park finally. This movie took the franchise in a direction that, they can only be on the island for so long. So, they had to get the dinosaurs off at some point. It was kind of, contrived how they got the stars there. But, it's without spoiling it, it's going to be very interesting the direction this franchise goes in. Jenny, you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I saw it, and I adore Chris Pratt, but even he couldn't save it. And like you said, Jurassic Park is one of my top 10 of all time. But it was rough.
Yeah. So we're going to move on to Ant-Man and the Wasp. So I actually thought this was like a great follow-up. Like, it was like kind of like, he had this huge meal of Avengers Infinity War, and they're like, oh, here's this little fun sorbet of Ant-Man and Wasp. We're just gonna, have some fun. We're gonna play around. We're gonna be a family movie. We're gonna tie in at the end, but it was, if you had to follow up, give us a little breather between Avengers and Captain Marvel, I think they accomplished their goal. Glenn, what are your thoughts on Ant-Man?
I was going to go for the exact same metaphor. I was going to say it's a great aperitif after Avengers because the stakes are so different, right? In Avengers, it's literally like half the universe or half of all of life everywhere. And in Ant-Man, they build such great tension around he has to get back in his bedroom before the FBI agent finds him. It's suddenly it's such a different thing to wrap your mind around. It's such different stakes. It just really, really works and builds that tension around he has to get in the window before they get up the stairs after half the universe got wiped out. It's amazing. The whole Ant-Man vibe, I think, worked even better in the second one than it did in the first one, and the way that they use it as that sort of buffer pause after the Avengers movie worked even better this time because it was following, frankly, a far better Avengers movie, but that's another thing. I really dug it. I really dug Larry Fishburne. I think the villain was cool. I just think the whole thing had a great vibe.
Yeah, it was funny. I mean, they used the shrinking, enlarging technology even better in this one.
Oh yeah, that's something that I said to some of my friends after the first one. The nature of the Ant-Man powers makes the action scenes in the Ant-Man movies different from every other superhero movie, which, when it's like the 19th one in the series, is something that you really need.
Yeah, that's what I think has kept the MCU going, is that their movies, they're superhero movies, but every one of them is like a different genre. Ant-Man are family movies. It was like a heist movie. And then you had Captain America. The first one was a war movie. The second one was a spy thriller. And so on and so forth. So that's what's kept the whole franchise going. Jenny, Ant-Man and Wasp, what'd you think?
I love this movie. Paul Rudd is like, I just can't think of an equivalent for Paul Rudd because he is amazing. He never ages. He's funny as fuck. He's a superhero. He's hot. So, he's the complete package when it comes to this shit. He is just, oh my God, I cannot even, contain my emotions about Paul Rudd. But anyway, Evangeline Lilly is really great in this. I love the villain in this. I love Michael Douglas in this. I love Michelle Pfeiffer in this. The the end credit scene was just a mind blower. It just as much as the heist movie took you out of everything that happened post Infinity War, it just brings you right back. And you're like, oh fuck.
Yeah, exactly.
What is he gonna do?
You're waiting for them to tie it together, and then all of a sudden it's like,
yes. And I watched it with my mom, who did not see Infinity War, and she's like, what just happened? I'm like, oh bitch, we got a discussion.
Great relationship you have with your mom.
I had to spoil Infinity War for her just to explain the post-credit scene. I love this movie.
All right, Scott.
To move along, I echo both of them. The movie was great. It was a nice change of pace from Infinity War. I like Paul Rudd, not at the emotional level that Jenny does, but I do like Paul Rudd. I do love Evangeline Lilly. And I like Michael Douglas. And I liked Michelle Pfeiffer. Everybody in it was good. It was well cast. And, it was a good change of pace. I enjoyed it.
All right. So we're going to quickly go through a couple more movies, and then, we'll call it a night. So Skyscraper, do not see this movie. It's horrible.
Jesus, no.
It's one of those is Chinese funded, so it gets released in China. The one thing I'm going to say about this movie: nobody told The Rock he was in a bad movie. The Rock just kept acting the shit out of it. He's a family man. I have one leg. I'm going to make it all the way across the city to go up to this fucking burning building to save my family. No, not even on the plane. Don't watch it on, even if you're a captive audience, skip it. Watch the little map that shows you where your plane is instead of watching this movie. All right. Mamma Mia, here we go again. That was the movie. I'm in the theaters with my girlfriend, Ellen, and basically 2 minutes into the movie, I'm like, what the fuck am I watching? I have no idea what's going on. I didn't see the first one. I was like, that was payback for Transformers the last night. So yeah, I dragged her to see that, and this was my penance, and I think I'm probably still paying for it. Anybody else see Mamma Mia?
Yeah, right.
Nope.
All right, Mission Impossible Fallout.
Holy Jesus fuck, yes.
Solid flick. You know, I think they've hit like, you know, a really sweet spot with the combination of Tom Cruise and Chris McQuarrie, where he's just writing and directing right to Tom Cruise's strengths and having so much fun with that franchise. It just doesn't stop. The movies just keep getting better and better and better.
It's amazing. I named my son after Ethan Hunt.
Really?
So this is all about, like, how do they keep making them better? The more movies they make.
This does not have franchise fatigue, which is amazing for, you know, an aging action star. It's just amazing. And then,
aging is a strong word, friend. It's Tom Cruise. He doesn't age. What are you talking about?
Well, you know, he seems like ageless, but, you know, he's only so many times. Like, he broke an ankle on this movie. You know, he's going to break every bone in his body next time.
That helicopter chase scene at the end was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen.
Yeah, and Henry Cavill was really good in this movie.
Brilliant. Yes, agreed.
And then Christopher Robin, that's a watch on Netflix movie. I mean, I saw it. It was kind of boring and very British. Like one.
Well, I'm the biggest. I didn't see it because.
And we talked about this at work.
I'm literally the biggest Winnie the Pooh fan on the planet, and I was very skeptical. So, I was not paying for it. I was not going to the movies for it. That's a Netflix one too. I agree.
All right, and then last couple on our list, The Meg. I know it was just one of those movies is like Jason Statham being, you know, cheesy action star. Oh, it's Megalodon. You know, let's see how we're gonna fight a giant shark here, and it was just fun. You know, it
was super fun.
You just, you know, it's one of those things. Just turn your brain off. Let, you know, things, you know, continuity, physics, whatever. It's like going to see a Fast and Furious movie. Just buy in. Just enjoy it. Mark out, so to speak. And then the last, Scott, you have anything to say about The Meg?
I love The Meg. I mean, it's not Jaws, but
nothing will be Jaws.
No, and I mean, I feel like the storyline was kind of rushed a little bit in terms of the relationship of the characters, but the shark was fucking kick-ass, and the last like 30 minutes is just fucking killer. I actually recommend, and I don't usually do this in terms of buying stuff blind, sight unseen, but if you find The Meg on Blu-ray cheap, buy it. It's worth owning.
It was a lot
worth
of fun.
owning. It really is. Yeah.
Jenny, you love The Meg?
I really did. Like, yeah. I thought that the tech part of the movie was really innovative and fun. It made me want to like be a undersea explorer, and you know, kudos to you for doing that. But you know, it just had a real tongue-in-cheek quality to it. I thought the sci-fi or the CGI was really good. It was just super enjoyable.
All right, cool. And then the last movie on the list that I'm probably the only one that saw was The Happy Time Murders, which was I laughed out loud a few times, but it was a wasted opportunity. I mean, it was dirty just to be dirty at times. I mean, I don't go into like a party store and look at Silly String the same way. I'm telling you, but it could have been Roger Rabbit-esque, but for adults. But it fell flat on a lot. Like, you know, basically, I'm not going to spoil it, but Melissa McCarthy's character and her puppet partner, I forgot his name, Mick, whatever. They were basically the same kind of character. There was no contradiction between the two. There was no, like, if you saw, like, The Heat with her and Sandra Bullock, she was the gritty street cop. This was the by-the-book FBI agent. There was nothing to play off of. They were just, like, the same character. And, again, it was just, a lot of it was shock value. Hearing puppets, like, say, fuck you, and, a puppet telling Melissa McCarthy, hey, I'll suck your dick for a quarter. And, it was just, it kind of fell flat in execution, which was kind of disappointing.
Yeah, that's sad. That sucks, man. I wanted to see that one. Too.
When it's on the HBO or something, got nothing to do on a Saturday night, give it 2 hours, but I wouldn't, go out of your way to, like, purchase it or anything like that, I think that was a MoviePass movie. I think. I don't remember. So that's going to conclude our looking back. Great segment, guys. Great first show. Thank you very much for being here. Jenny, you got any shows coming out soon on the PTBN Pop Feed?
Literally every show on the PTBN Pop Feed has me on it. So just, like, look for my name. Like, I'm on all that shit.
Yeah, and yes, Jenny, Geek and Sassy.
Freak Out Drive-In. We recorded one today. I'm going to be on the Hard Traveling Fanboys tomorrow. And what else do I have? Geek and Sassy just dropped like 3 episodes. So
what you're trying to say is you should get your own feed.
Well, I mean, like, yeah, I can talk to the boss man about it, but maybe.
Glenn, you still with us?
Yes, I am. My power is flickering a little bit, but I'm still glad to be with you.
Okay, so we got Spectacular coming out in the future?
Oh, man, I try sometimes, but I'm afraid the show is a victim of my depression, so I will try.
Okay, well...
in the meantime, we've got the Wednesday Walk Around the Web every single week, and if there's something that anyone really wants to hear about on a Spectacular, especially with Jenny, because she has to be on every show, so we got to make that work out somehow.
Yes, please.
By all means, drop me a line.
Will do.
Well, speaking of somebody who listens to the show, we miss you. And when you have time and you get one up, nobody can making a grilled cheese discussion as interesting as you guys did.
Agreed. Me, you, Steve Willie. There you go. There's a show.
All right. Yeah. Well, thank you for reminding me. One of the things that we like to do on these Spectacular is with myself and my brother and the salubrious Mr. Steve Willie, we do the Spectacular Advice Hour. If anyone would like to ask us questions about life, about important decisions, about traumatic experiences, or about grilled cheese sandwiches, you can reach us at spectacularadvice@gmail.com. Please reach out to us.
All right, sounds good. Scott, what's going on over there on the main PTBN feed with you?
Well, on the PTBN Wrestling feed, if you haven't had a chance to listen yet, episode 500 of the Place to Be podcast is there. We did a super trivia tournament and brought back some of our old friends, and we had a blast. This week,
with my stellar performance.
Yeah. Well, that's true. I was going to avoid it, but you sucked.
That's all right. You know what? I will admit, I knew I was going to be bad. I just didn't think I was going to be that bad. But I had a lot of fun, and you guys were very great to have me on the show.
And you could say you were on episode 500. What your content was will be forgotten in time. Anyway, and coming up later this week, Place to Be Nation's main event will drop. Myself, Nate, Steve Willie, we're going to talk. We're going to preview Saturday's big Super Showdown in Melbourne, and then do a little bit of New Japan Classic Match picks. 2 matches we're going to talk about this week. Classic Match picks, a couple of matches from the 90s of different styles. We have a power match and we have a cruisers type match. So check that out. That'll be later this week. And that's all I got besides the hot takes. And Andy, you're off to a stellar start, and I know we've got some other stuff in the pipeline. Mm-hmm. So looking forward to helping you move that along.
Yes, thank you. And just want to take a moment to thank everybody at Place to Be Nation for welcoming me to the fold. Scott, you and I have been friends for a while now, and you brought me in. I have some written content up there. I'm going to try to get some more when, inspiration hits me. When I have things to actually talk about in written form. But so to you, to Justin, to Brad, to Chad, to everybody at Place to Be, thank you for letting me become part of this family. It's a lot of fun. It truly is a family. It's a great group of people to be involved with. And I just look forward to, providing some content, having some fun, entertaining people, whether they're, in their car, at their desk at work, or at the gym. That's all it's about. Just let's have some fun. I have things I want to talk about with people. I was lucky enough to get 3 tremendous guests on my first show, and I want to thank, Jenny, Glenn, and Scott for all being here. They're 3 people that I've listened to many times on their shows, and I just wanted to, have a chance to sit and talk with them about, one of my favorite things, which is kind of like taken over my life lately, has been movies, and thank you. So that being said, for Jenny Smith, Glenn Butler, and Scott Criscuolo, you've looked forward and you look back. We'll see you on the next show. Bye-bye.